Calvin Woods followed the trail at a brisk pace. He had a considerable amount of riding to do today in order to carry out the chores Sally had given him, delivering invitations to all the ranches in the area. The Triangle B was just his first stop on a trip that would take him around the valley. After a while, he knew he had to be on Triangle B range. The rolling grassy landscape on both sides of the trail now belonged to Thaddeus Bolton. He spotted a few small groups of cattle grazing here and there, but no riders. The sudden sound of hoofbeats drifted to Cal's ears and made him rein in. Whoa! A man on horseback burst out of some trees about 100 yards to Cal's right. As fast as the horse was running, the hombre on its back was lucky he hadn't dashed his brains out on a low-hanging branch. Cal tried to watch the rider and the trees at the same time, figuring that somebody else on horseback would emerge at any time. The fella up ahead was sure covering ground like somebody was chasing him, but no other riders appeared. The man crossed the road some 20 yards ahead of Cal without ever glancing in his direction. The wind generated by such high speed finally plucked the rider's hat off, although the chin strap caught it behind his neck and kept it from flying away. With the hat no longer crammed down on the rider's head, thick, fair hair streamed out in the wind. Cal's eyes widened when he saw that. It was a girl, and her frantic screams told Cal that she was trapped on a runaway. She was across the road now and headed at breakneck pace through a broad, open stretch of grassland toward another line of trees several hundred yards in the distance. Cal knew those trees marked the course of a creek that meandered across the Sugarloaf and then through what was now the Triangle B. He had fished that creek before and knew that over here in this stretch, the stream flowed between steep banks about 20 feet high. If the runaway horse didn't stop when it reached the trees, it would run over the edge of that bank and plummet to the creek below. That was a high enough fall it might prove fatal to both horse and rider. Without hesitation, Cal jerked the Dun's head over and dug his boot heels into the horse's flanks. The Dun leaped into a gallop and went after the other horse. Cal reached up with his left hand and pushed his hat down tighter on his head as the wind tugged at it. The girl had a lead on him, and she was mounted on a good horse, but the Dun was speedy too, and Cal urged all he could get out of it. If he could come up alongside her, he could reach over and grab her horse's reins. Then he could bring the animal to a stop. He would need time and space to do that, however, and he didn't know if he'd have enough of either before they reached the creek. He had to try, though. He couldn't sit by and watch while she killed herself. She wasn't screaming anymore as he closed in on her. In fact, the way she swayed back and forth in the saddle told him she might have passed out or at least was coming close to fainting. The trees and the creek bank just beyond him were only 20 yards away now. Cal came alongside the girl. Her eyes were open, but she didn't seem to be seeing anything. He couldn't afford to try to stop her horse. Instead, he leaned over in the saddle himself, reached out with his right arm, and looped it around her waist. He hauled back on the Dun's reins with his left hand as he closed his right arm around the girl. The Dun threw on the brakes, and Cal hung on to the girl for dear life. His strong grip pulled her off her galloping mount. Thankfully, her small booted feet came cleanly out of the stirrups, and the reins slipped from her hands. The horse charged ahead without her as Cal swung her onto the Dun's back in front of him. The Dun came to a stop. Without a rider on the saddle anymore, the girl's mount slowed and wheeled away from the trees, no longer in danger of charging off the bank into the creek. Cal kicked his feet free of the stirrups and slid to the ground, bringing the girl with him. She was limp, and although he tried, he couldn't keep his balance and hold both of them up at the same time. He fell, but he managed to keep his grip on her so that she sprawled on top of him.